Welcome to the Altinity Instructional Video Series. I'm John Hummel, Senior Technical Writer for Altinity. This video continues our ClickHouse Hardening guide, focusing on user security. In our previous video, we went over how to use encrypted passwords and use SQL commands to create users, as user details can be set up in either XML files or set via SQL-based DCL, data control language, instructions. In this video, we'll be digging a little deeper into showing how to restrict user access by using row filters to limit users to specific data sets in a table, and setting quotas on how many system resources can be used within given intervals. In the first video on user security, we demonstrated how to apply these settings on both a single server and on a cluster. In this video, we're going to focus just on a single server to keep things simple, but to see how to apply these commands on a cluster level, please see Part 1 of our ClickHouse Hardening User Security Guide. To be notified about other videos in our instructional series, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon. These instructions can also be found on our Altinity doc site, so you can copy and paste commands right into your terminal. Or if you're looking for the latest news about ClickHouse, check out the Altinity resources site, where you can sign up for upcoming webinars and find the latest ClickHouse techniques. In our examples, we're using Altinity ClickHouse stable release on a Linux Ubuntu 20.04 machine, a virtual machine really. We're going to be skipping over some practices, such as using roles and grant and revoke, as those are pretty common across databases. Row policies. Most of you are aware of how to use the grant and revoke commands to users and roles. We're going to bypass that, but remember, the documentation is available on clickhouse.tech. We're going to narrow this down to specific rows. The database security grant command allows you to lock down information on the database, table, and column level. The row policy gets even further down and allows you to set filters on rows. As always, there's two ways, through XML and through SQL commands. We're going to pick on our friend default yet again with all of its useful XML-based settings. Just for the sake of demonstration, we've put together a small database called tutorial with two tables. One that represents web server log files, the other contains airline flight departure and arrival information. Between the two of them, we're talking about millions of rows and multiple gigabytes of data. We'll log in as default, and let's take a look at all the cities where a flight departed after the year 2016. Our database covers 2017 to 2019, and we'll make it all grouped together. Then we'll display some web server log information, just a few rows as a demonstration. Now, let's say for some reason we want to restrict the user default to just allowing people to select from the tutorial database, and in there only show the ontime_ref table, and even then narrow it down so they can only see data for the years before 2019. We'll update the default user's XML database field with the name of the database that they are allowed access to, then the table, and then we narrow it down to the row filter. Be aware, this doesn't restrict access to the entire database. This just adds a filter on the row level. By adding this, we're not restricting the default user to only the ontime_ref table. We're just adding in that they only have access to rows with the year column is less than 2019. We've saved it. Let's go back in as default and rerun those two queries. We can see the default user can still access the same information from the web server log table, and the queries on the flight logs are now limited. In fact, if we try that same query on year 2019, we get nothing. We can do the same thing through a SQL command. We've already granted the user John access to all of the tables in the tutorial database. But now let's limit the user John with a row policy so they can only see data from the year 2019 with the create row policy command. Now we'll run a query looking for airline data since 2016 as user John. As we can see, that user can now only see data for the year 2019. Row policies are a powerful tool so you can limit users to just what information they need. And as you can see, it's still incredibly fast. Even with the filters on, ClickHouse was able to search through 20 million rows within a tenth of a second on a virtual machine running on my laptop. Set quotas. The last ClickHouse user security feature we'll discuss in this video is using quotas. Quotas allow you to set one or more time intervals in which users can perform tasks. For example, you might say that users can only run 100 queries in an hour, and then they're locked out until the interval session is over. Or you can have multiple intervals, so a user can run 100 queries an hour, and they can also only use a certain amount of memory or access a certain number of rows in a 24-hour period. Quotas can limit users by selects, inserts, the number of errors, and so on. By now you've gotten the idea that these can be set in both XML and SQL commands. So we're going to just focus on the SQL-based commands. Let's create our new quota to lock down the user John so you can only run one query every 5 minutes. I don't know who I made mad, but evidently I'm just running too many queries and must be taught a lesson. So here's the quota for that. Create quota lockdown for interval 300 second max, queries equal 1 to John. Now when we log in as John and try to run rampant with queries, he's denied. And then he's told why. So if I want to go look in the mirror and complain that this quota is too restrictive, that handsome devil in the mirror can look right back at me and say, yeah, well, too bad. This ends our demonstration on how to use quotas and row filters to enhance user security in ClickHouse. In other videos for our ClickHouse security series, we're going to shift gears into network security and demonstrate how to keep people from listening in on your communications. If you want to be notified about that, make sure you've subscribed and have rang the notifications bell. This guide and others can be found on the Altinity doc site at docs.altinity.com. Other ClickHouse user-related webinars and posts are available on the Altinity resources page. I'm John Hummel, Senior Technical Writer for Altinity. Thank you for watching. Until next time, happy coding.